All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Just Langa Show. Today we are talking about unlocking the power of your story. Now it is our
Mhm.
71st episode on Just Langa where we interview the movers and shakers in the world to help you guys grow your authority, impact, and income as a thought leader, business influencer, and the authority in your respective industries. So welcome one, welcome all. I'm Nina, and this is. No, there
And
you
I'm
go.
Amin. Welcome back to the 71 episode of Just Langa. Glad to be here. Today is quite interesting, though. I had a conversation with the speaker just now,
Mhm.
with our guest just now. I'm excited
You're
because
excited. Why are you
he,
excited? I mean,
yeah, because he gave me a tip in terms of storytelling. Like, wow, I never thought of it that way. so,
ooh,
so I'm
okay.
gonna go deep
First things
tonight. Okay.
first, I gotta check
Yeah,
in with you because it says we're having problems streaming to LinkedIn. So could you check that out
I'm
for
just gonna
us?
check that out right for now. All right. Never
Yeah,
mind.
okay.
Continue first.
In the meantime, guys, welcome. If you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Would love to hear from you. If you're a regular popcooners, type in popcoon. If you are a newbie, type in noob. What is it that you guys want to learn from today's session? Let us know in the comment section and we'll be able to ask our speaker because today it's all about unlocking the power of your story. Okay, happening right here in Just Langa with me, Nina, and Amin. Now, if you are new to the show, we're Popcorn and we build Southeast Asia's business influencers and thought leaders. So if this is something that excites you, you're like, what the heck is that? You gotta join us. Okay, we've got trainings, free trainings. We've got the talk show that we have every Thursday and coming up next week. I mean, do we know what's happening next week? Thursday, 9th of December. We usually have an episode every Thursday. We're actually having Malaysia's Master Chef, Abang Brian, and he is going to be talking about branding from the heart. Now, honestly, for me, branding from the heart, I think that's something that we found that beats the algorithm on LinkedIn. Is actually if you write from the heart. So that one, I don't know. I mean, but it seems to be it seems to be working with all our students. So I think that if you write from the heart, you're actually beating the LinkedIn algorithm. But that's my theory. But we have a lot of students whose data are proving that. Now, next will be our final episode of this season, and it's going to be an epic one because number one, it is not happening on Thursday, it is happening on Friday at 8 a.m. Like, what? I have to wake up early? Yes, because our speaker is from the States, and we're going to be talking about again its story. Why your brand story is critical to your success and why so many companies fail at creating one. She's amazing. She's Greta Rose, founder of Greta Rose Agency. It's a creative and digital marketing agency, and she's amazing because she's been featured on Oprah. And I don't know if you've seen this movie The Secret, where it stars Katie Holmes, but she was actually working with The Secret to sort of bring that movie to life based on the principles of the book The Secret. Now, how epic is that? I'm like really looking forward to it. So if I have to wake up in the morning, that's the one that I'm going to go to. But let us know if you're tuning in and what is it that you guys want to get from today's session, because we've got you an amazing speaker. Now, if you're excited about all we have to share, follow us on all our social media. And but tonight it's all about growing your authority, impact, and influence through unlocking the power of your story. So I'm really excited about this. Our speaker, I believe, has a shortcut, but we got to find out from him if it's really a shortcut to getting your brand story. And it's through a deck of special cards. And that's what I'm really excited about tonight. So, what is it that you guys want to get from tonight's episode? Let us know in the comments section. Let us know in the chat because it's not often that we get an expert like tonight. I mean, you were saying, what was it that you wanted to get from tonight? I mean, cannot hear. What happened to you?
Okay, sorry guys, because I'm gonna be in and out just to fix out this whole LinkedIn technical stuff. But I'll be around. But I'm excited to know more about storytelling. Because when our guests were talking about it, just like, "Hey, I never thought about it that way." A very simple tip on how to do it. So I think I'm
What
gonna
was the
go
simple
deep
tip?
in. I
Okay.
cannot tell her now. Let him tell about it.
Okay. For me, I'm really okay. When I saw the cards, I was like, damn it, I gotta have him as the speaker, gotta have him for you guys. But basically,
Mhm.
what are the deck of cards? How does it work? Can he do mine? Yeah, do me. Is it really a shortcut? And also, we work with a lot of our students, and some of the biggest challenge for them was coming up with their story. And some of them, it's like I have to sit with them like 5 times to figure out their story. And I'm like, seriously, can you get it over and done with? We all know it's important. I'm echoing to get your story, but how do we know if we have gotten it, we've nailed it right? You see, even I am overthinking about it. So no wonder our people are overthinking. So there you go. Okay. So what about you guys? What is it that you guys want to learn? What do you guys want to ask our guests? Get it all ready because that's happening tonight. How do we unlock the power of our story? Now you're about to get the inside scoop on all this to unleash your story into the world without boring people with too much information. So if you are ready and you think this is going to be useful, it's going to make a difference to somebody out there, make sure you hit the share post button onto your social media, tag your friends who's going to benefit for it, because it's not always we have a speaker like tonight. And once you're done with that, get your pen, get your notebook ready, because we're going to be asking all these amazing questions and you want to jot it down. Are you guys ready? Because I certainly am. All right, so who do we have in the house? Our guest tonight is an international storytelling consultant. He's a former BBC TV journalist. And this is where remembers to put up our guest's photo. There you go. Okay. Anyway, he reckons he's told over 20,000 stories in his career, and he's recently launched his storyteller tactics card deck on Kickstarter. And guess what? He smashed his funding target in just 3 hours. Okay, this I gotta ask him. So he lives in the hills near Manchester, UK, where he goes out cycling when he should really be working. But you know what? If you can smash a Kickstarter campaign in 3 hours, he can cycle all he wants, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are ready to have your story told, because I certainly am, if you are, then please welcome business storytelling expert, Steve Rawling.
Okay,
Yeah,
hold on for a
hello, how are
while.
you?
Hello. Okay, here you go. There you go.
There we go.
Welcome to the show. I am
It's
so
lovely to
sorry
see
for my
you.
tech guy. This is what happens when we miss one episode. We forget everything.
Everything goes out
Okay,
the window. Yeah.
hold on for a
Yes.
while. I'm just gonna excuse myself. 'Cause I'm just gonna do some technical stuff in the back. So I'm just gonna leave the two of you together. Okay?
Okay, we'll just talk about you while you're
So
not here.
Sure. Go ahead.
yes. So we're actually having problems going on LinkedIn. Okay, cool. Okay, anyway, so Steve, thank you so much for joining us. We're so honored to have you here. So first things first, Steve, in your own words, can you share a little bit about, with us about what is it about you and what is it that you do?
So I help people tell great stories about their work. That's the one-line version of what I do. And I find it so interesting. When I was a journalist, the thing I loved most about the job was every single day you meet different people, you talk to different people, and you learn something new about their lives. So I'm a very curious person, and that really worked for me, is finding out new things about people. But what was also interesting as a journalist, so I started at the BBC when I was about 22, 23 years old, and full of ideas. And I'd go into these meetings with these kind of senior journalists, and I'd go, okay, I've got 10 story ideas here, and I'd pitch the story ideas. And sometimes they'd go, no, boring. And sometimes they'd go, that's a good story, but they actually didn't really explain why. They didn't explain what made the difference between that's a good story and that's boring. So they just kind of felt it instinctively. And obviously, the longer you do a job, you also pick up your instincts. You get a sense of what works and what doesn't. So after a few years, I got an instinct myself for what made a good story. But no one actually ever says what makes a good story. So that's what now I'm doing, is spending a lot of time reading and researching and talking to people and trying out. That's the great thing. I've worked with probably about 2,000 or 3,000 clients in the last 5 or 6 years, trying to get them to improve their story. And if I look back at my notes from 5 years ago when I first started, I go, oh, God, that's so dumb. What was I thinking? And now, obviously, so now I developed the ideas of how do you find your story? How do you find a good story? How do you then tell a good story? And that's what I do now. Is I help a lot of people with stories that help them sell, stories that help them lead, stories that help them motivate people, all those kind of things. And I just find it, endlessly fascinating, because every different client brings a different problem.
Wow, that's amazing. So you have worked with 3,000 clients, 5,000 you said?
About 3,000, yeah.
3,000,
Yeah.
my goodness. And you yourself have written about 20,000. That's a lot of data point. You're almost like an AI, which I think we should talk about tonight, right?
Yeah. So
Okay, and
AI
I've
is
got
very.
yeah,
So
I've got good news for you.
Go on, tell me.
Firdaus, because
Oh,
remember
Firdaus
I
is
did a
there.
post today. Yeah, Firdaus Jahari is here and he's saying hi, and he
Hi,
would
Firdaus.
love to get some pointers on storytelling. And we've got Jane Rye who's saying hi, Steve.
Yep. Hi,
And she's
Jane.
wishing everybody an early Christmas as well. Yeah. And Tom, welcome, Tom, tuning in from Kuching. Kuching is in, okay, wait a minute, where are we? West Malaysia, East Malaysia. We're separated by the South China Sea. There you go.
Right.
Kind of thing. And thank you. All right. So basically, that's what you do now. You help clients tell their story.
Yes.
So today, who do you mainly work with, and how do you serve them?
It breaks up into different groups, really, and it's kind of accidental how this happened. It just happens over time. So I have one group of clients who work in the broadcast, in media. So they are professional storytellers. So, for example, documentary makers. And the work I do with them is quite deep about the mechanics of story. So we talk about archetypes, we talk about story arcs, we talk about dramatic plots. So that's quite deep level of work. That's great fun. So I've been doing a lot of work recently with wildlife documentary makers.
Wow,
and that's just like, that is so much fun because it's all just great stories about animals. And we, you know, here's an interesting thing. There's only two things we really tell stories about, right? The number one thing we tell stories about is other people, right? We don't tell stories about things or objects or buildings or projects or, yeah, we tell stories about people. The only other thing we really tell stories about is animals.
Animals, really? Okay.
Yeah, well, so Aesop's fables, Kipling's stories, the Jungle Book, these are all animal stories. Disney all tell animal stories. But basically, when we're telling an animal story, we're making them into people. Okay. Or actually, we're thinking of ourselves as animals. But either way, so yes. So there's the broadcasters. I work with them.
Okay.
I work with a lot of academics. So these are people who are professors, assistant professors, researchers, and they are working at a really high level of expertise. But when they're talking to other experts, they don't need me. But when they need to talk to the likes of you and me, when they need to talk to the media, when they need to talk to politicians, when they need to talk to ordinary people about their work, sometimes they just can't do it. They're so wrapped up in this kind of expertise, and the language that experts use can be very, very formal. They get so wrapped up, they forget that what they're doing actually is an exciting story. You know, they're learning something. They're on a kind of adventure. An academic is on a kind of adventure, going into the unknown, discovering something and bringing it back again. Well, that's an adventure. Now, so that's academics, and I help them tell stories about their work. I do a lot of work with designers, and that's just a coincidence, really. That's a group who seem to want. And then the other bit of work I do is with entrepreneurs.
Wait, when you say designers, what do you mean by designers?
Well, I mean, people who are making software, so people who are trying to solve problems by using design techniques. So they might be making a new digital product or service, or a physical product or service, but they're using design principles to do it. So a lot of design companies, work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of kind of small and medium-sized companies these are companies who probably don't have their own dedicated marketing department. So they're trying to do things. They're trying to do a lot of things themselves. They're trying to get their story right, but they're not employing a marketing team to do it for them. So I'll then help them.
Got it.
Get the
so it's become a new business for you then.
Yeah, well, it has. Yes. So I left the BBC about 6.5 years ago. And I've been kind of working at this ever since. Interestingly, when I left, here's a story. When I left the BBC, I had this idea. So I've been working as a trainer within the BBC's own academy, and I've been training people in creative thinking techniques. So how to have new ideas.
Right. Okay.
And so I thought, that's it. I'm going to go into business by myself, training people in how to have new ideas, how to innovate. And what I realized after about 2 years of trying this was most people don't want new ideas. Right?
Really? What are they looking for?
Well, most people think their idea that they've got already is good. And they don't want a
Okay.
new idea. They think, listen, my idea is fantastic. I don't need any new ideas. But what I don't understand is why is nobody listening to me when I tell them about my idea?
So it's the communication.
Yeah. So what most people don't really want innovation advice. They want communication advice. And so what I realized is actually they need stories more than they need creativity techniques. So I did
Yes,
I did a pivot in the business. I started off doing one thing, and I went, no, let's change and do that instead. And then everything kind of took off from there, really.
fantastic.
And yeah. So I'm very busy.
All right, so that's fantastic. So let's go back to the basics then. This thing that you do, which is story,
Yes.
right? Storytelling. Can we get some definition out first? When we talk about story, do we mean personal story or brand story or both? Which one does better as for an entrepreneur? And you are the business storytelling expert. So
you kind of need both. So depending on the size of the business, what's really interesting for entrepreneurs is when you're starting out a business, the business is almost exactly the same as your person. The brand of the business is the same as you. So you have so much personality that you bring to your business that the two are very, very close. And so the brand of, the brand of your business, Popcorn, is very similar to the brand of you. Yeah, it's got vivacious, it's got exciting, it's got it's got sparkle. So you and the brand are very similar. Okay, imagine if you now grow to the point where you're employing 10,000 people. Okay, then obviously the business starts to have a personality of its own, and so the business needs a story, and it does need a story because actually people connect. People make an emotional connection to corporations, to businesses. So if you think about, classic KFC, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, well, it still has the face of Colonel Sanders, this imaginary mythical figure, right? Because we're kind of making
not real. A lot of Malaysians.
I think he is. I think he is real, but anyway, I don't know.
A lot of Malaysians will be disappointed. I think we have way too many KFC branches in Malaysia. We're obsessed with our fried chicken.
But the point is, you're kind of imagining when you go into KFC, you're kind of imagining that this kindly old gentleman, right, is the one behind the chicken you're about to eat.
Yes, and the 11 spices secret recipe.
Absolutely. By the way, there's an absolute genius piece of online marketing. Absolute genius. If you look at the KFC Twitter account.
Yes, I think so. But tell me anyway. I think it's the same thing.
KFC Twitter account, they only follow, they've got millions, thousands of followers, but they only follow 14 people.
Oh, 14. Right? I thought it was 11.
Oh, okay, is it 11? Yes, you're right, it's 11. So yeah, so they follow, that's right, they follow 6 people whose first name is Herb, and 5 of the and they follow the 5 Spice Girls.
Yes, you are right. Because it's made up of 6 herbs and 5
6
spices.
Herbs and 5 spices. Yes, you're right. It was always 14. Yeah, 6. So they follow 6 guys called Herb and 5 of the Spice Girls. That's all they follow, and they never told anyone they were doing. They never told anyone they were doing this. Right? They just did it.
People figured it out, right?
And somebody figured it out and went, "Hang on a second, look what they've done!" And everyone on the internet went, "Oh, that's so clever."
Yeah,
a genius little bit of stories, brand stories, just like personal stories really, but brand stories happen in all sorts of ways you can tell us. So you can use social media posts to tell a story, but even that KFC thing is a really good example of a clever little funny story told
that
by
starts a conversation, isn't it?
I was in a school. I was working in a school a couple of weeks ago, and I went into the school store cupboard where all the things are kept, and I was looking for a box of paper, and there was a box on the shelf, and it was obviously somebody had just reused an old cardboard box and stuck things in it. So the box was from a dog food company, so they'd obviously been used to deliver dog food, and on the side of the box there was a customer testimonial. Right, there was somebody they'd printed on the side of their packaging. We love this dog food. Our dog's never been happier. He's really shiny and whatever. You know, they'd written a testimonial on the side of the cardboard box that your food arrives in, and then you use the cardboard box to store stuff in the shelf. And every time you walk in there, there's a little story. Now, that is so easy. There's so many different places, so many different touch points between you as a company and your consumers. There's so many different places that you can tell little stories. There doesn't have to be the big brand narrative, right? This big, and just as you as an entrepreneur, you know, you don't have to have you can have the big, like, imagine you get to do a TED talk and you go like, this is my story. This is my big 18-minute version of my story. Well, yes, you know, and it starts, once upon a time, there was a little girl called Nina who lived in right, there's that version of the story, the big story. But you only can tell that once. You can't tell that story over and over again, because what happens if you tell the same story to the same person more than once? They start going,
I've heard that before.
I've heard that before. Why are you telling me the story again? So you have to have lots and lots and lots of little stories.
You're
all over the place.
And that is what's happening today, right? If you want to stand out in the crowd, we're telling little stories, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
This is
why social media is great, because you can just tell lots and lots of daily versions of, hey guys, have you seen this? What do you think of this? What I thought was really interesting, if I'm just, because Fergus is on the call, he made a really interesting reply to. So you put a post up. Was it this morning? Was it this morning? This post? Yes, it was about future of marketing. What are the ingredients that we all need to think about in next year? And one of them you put down. Is it about storytelling, thought leadership, content marketing, or relationship marketing? And people were coming back. But Fergus pointed something out which I hadn't thought of, which I thought was really interesting. And he said, these 4 things are things that robots find very hard to do. So AI finds it very hard to tell a story. And I think, that's interesting. I'll tell you what, let's take it a little bit further, to develop that thought a little bit further.
FJ was the one who asked that question.
Yeah. So to develop that thought a bit further, not only does AI, right, you can teach an AI how to tell a story by basically giving it some story structures and say, look, you go from once upon a time, something happens, happy ever after, right? So you can give it a basic structure and pump in some facts, and it will pump out a story, right? And sometimes those stories are quite readable. But here's the thing. The AI can't tell when you're getting bored or when you're pissed off by the story. So the AI is not having a conversation. It's just broadcasting at you, throwing story at you. And social media and normal conversation, it's a conversation. And so the AI will piss people off because it's talking at them. Whereas humans talk to each other. We don't like it when people talk at us. It annoys us. Yep. So I think that's quite interesting. But so basically, to Fergus's point, this is storytelling is what AIs aren't very good at.
Definitely. I have a question.
Yes.
What is it that you think a lot of people, do you think everybody understands about storytelling? Because I was surprised that some people said content marketing kind of thing. Yeah, but it is an extension of storytelling, isn't it? Because if you're content,
it is really content marketing. Yeah, it's storytelling with purpose. So with content marketing, you're thinking, I have a target customer in mind. I have a message I want to get across to them. I have an outcome I want to see at the end of it. Yeah, so that's that. And I have a platform here I'm going to use, and the platform has a tone of voice which I'm going to adopt. Okay, so it's strategic storytelling. But no, I think most people do. Most people get. Here's the interesting thing. Okay, people have heard that they should be using a story in their work. They should be using storytelling, and they're sitting there thinking, "Yeah, what does that mean? Where do I start? What's a story?" Because we're surrounded by them so much all the time. We're surrounded by stories. We use stories all the time. We love stories. We spend our spare time. Look how many people spend their spare time playing video games, which are just a form of story, reading novels,
Movies.
watching
Mhm.
movies. Yeah, we
Reading books.
can't
Yeah.
wait to get into the world of story. And it's a little bit so what I find when I'm talking to people is they sort of think that they ought to be telling a story, but they don't really know where to start.
Right. So they know it's important, they just don't know where to start, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So if that's the case, if we're about to start, creating content as a business owner and entrepreneur, how do I get started? What's the important steps to take?
The most important first thing is to think about, okay, who is your audience? Who are you talking to? What do they need from you? And okay, so that's always a good place to start.
Mhm.
And then if you're thinking, well, actually, I'm not really sure what my story is, then okay, I would say there's a common mistake that people make when they're talking about their work, their business, is they kind of jump, if you like, they jump straight to the moral of the story, the meaning. So they'll tell you the reason why something is important straight away. Okay, they'll tell you the conclusion. In other words, they'll tell you the end of the story first, and that's it. That's all you get. So they'll tell you something is really important, and you go, okay, it might be, but you don't feel any connection at all. So let me give you an example. So I was listening to an entrepreneur who was pitching to a room full of people about the idea she wanted them to fund. And she was describing this and found it very difficult to do because she wasn't a very confident speaker. So I talked to her afterwards and said, okay, tell me more about this idea that you've got for this business. And basically the idea was this. She'd grown up in New Delhi and had experienced what it's like as a woman to travel alone on public transport. It can be very threatening because of the behavior of some of the men on the buses and the trains. And so she found that really, really threatening and frightening. Then she came to London as a young woman and was like, wow, hang on a second. I can travel on the buses and the underground in London without a chaperone. Okay, that's good. Then she was like, oh, hang on a second, that's wrong. That I can't do that in my own hometown. I can't do that. That's wrong. So she was kind of driven by this sense that this is wrong, this anger. And what she wanted to do was to come up with an idea for some sort of like connected device, like a sort of personal attack alarm, but connected to the internet. So it's cheap. It's not like you're using your mobile phone, which you might lose. It's like a cheap Internet of Things attack alarm, personal. Okay. And that was what she wanted to make. And she was really fired up. And now she'd given up her job and she was pitching for investment for people to come in and support her on this mission that she had. And I said, that's an amazing story. And at the time I was interviewing for a blog I was writing. So I said, look, fantastic. Can I interview you for my blog? And she went, oh God, yes, go on then. Really reluctantly. I said, yes, okay. So I said, okay, let me get my phone, get my microphone. So I pulled out the microphone and I said, okay, so tell me, why did you give up your really well-paid job to start this business? And she said, it was such a great value proposition.
Oh, no.
And I said, right, okay. And then she started talking about kind of the end-to-end value chain. And I was thinking, right. And then she carried on for about I don't know, about a minute, talking like this in these abstract,
a robot.
Yeah, in these kind of abstract business terms. And after
That nobody understands. He was a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Jargon. Not.
Yeah, a juggernaut. I like it. I like that. I'm writing that one down. I'm having that. I'm going to take that one. Thank you.
Please do.
Yeah, she was. She was just rolling on like a juggernaut. Yeah. And I stopped her after about a minute and said, "Look, I can't use any of this because I actually don't know what you're talking about. Can you tell me the story that you just told me before the microphone came out?" But the microphone kind of panicked her into thinking, right, I've got to sound like a businesswoman. And this is what business women say. And so she kind of, it was like panic. But the problem is, if you talk to 20 entrepreneurs, they can all tell you, I've got a great value proposition, right? Because if they didn't, why would they be here? So the value proposition is like abstract, is up there in the air, right? Everybody's got a great value proposition, but only that woman has got a story about what it's like to be on a bus in New Delhi, and what it's like to come to London, and what it's like to give up a job, and what it's like to take a big risk in a new, right? That's her story.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else has got that story. That's hers.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's got a value proposition. So if you tell people if your story is, I've got a great value proposition, how on earth am I going to remember it? Because everybody's got a great value. So in a way, what she was doing was she was jumping to the end of the story first and saying, this is a really good deal. Come and invest in me. But everyone says that. What she didn't do was give us the story that takes us to the end, which is, this is a really good business. Because we remember the story. We don't remember the theory.
I think it's not just the story, because you could get into the emotions of it. And that's why we as investors or people who want to buy something, because we're all emotional beings, right? We get invested into things and we make purchase decisions or investment decisions based on emotions.
That's absolutely right. And emotions are incredibly strong and powerful. And yeah, they do lead us in certain directions. And it's almost like the emotion almost makes the decision for you, and then you justify it rationally later. So, if you've got to be quite careful with some decisions, you have to be quite careful not to get carried away. Here's a great example. Okay, I kind of like this and I hate it at the same time. So in the UK, the law has changed recently so that when you reach a certain age, you can take your pension fund out and invest it anywhere you like. So you can you've got more control over your pension. And also what's interesting is the last probably 20 years, the employment situation has changed. So people used to have one job that went on for 25 years and then they took a pension. Yep. But now people are having 3 years here, 4 years there, 5 years. They've probably got, by the time they get to the age of 50, they've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 different small pensions from different parts of their career. So there's an argument for saying, okay, maybe you should combine those pensions into one, into one fund. Okay, but it's an incredibly technical argument. So you have to do a cost-benefit analysis around, is it better to combine or keep them separate? Or it's a really difficult financial decision to make. Okay, so we're not very good at making those kind of difficult financial decisions, let's be honest. So the advertising campaign that's running at the moment in the UK is for a company who's offering to basically combine and reinvest your multiple pensions. And now, rather than giving you the cost-benefit analysis, which none of us could understand anyway, what they do in the advert, right? They say, combining your old pensions online feels so good. Right? Okay. Is that it? Yes, that's it. Combining your old pensions feels so good. Like, that's clever. Because basically what they've realized is that people are worried about money, and they they're a bit anxious and a bit uncertain. And so all they're saying is, hey, come with us, we'll make you feel good. Clever.
And that's it. That's
the top line of
It's a story.
Okay.
That's it.
That's the story that gets you in, and then you can look at the figures. But
is it working? Are people signing up?
I'd have to find out. I don't know if they release that kind of information. But as an advertising, I mean, it's a UK-wide advertising campaign. They've thought, yeah, we can either tell people about cost-benefit analysis that we've done,
which nobody will understand,
which nobody will read, or we can tell them, hey, wouldn't you like to be more relaxed about? Would you like to feel good about your pension? I'll go.
Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, so feelings and emotions are very powerful, and I think what's interesting is, from the point of view of okay, if you're sitting there thinking, I am not really sure what my story is, what my business story is. Okay, well here's a tip: follow the emotion. Think about a moment where either where you went to bed at night really, like chewing over something because, really you went to bed really wound up by something, or I'd say, you imagine you're sitting at your desk and you open up an email and you go, oh no, that's awful, or you go, hey, that's fantastic. Doesn't matter. So a strong emotion, positive or negative, that you've experienced when to do with work. So you go, okay, because I tell you what, we remember emotions really, really clearly. Okay. So what you then do is you go, right, okay, so that was a really strong emotion. Why did I feel that really strong emotion? And it will basically be because something changed. Right. So you had this kind of once upon a time, and then something changed, and then there's a new situation. And that moment of change is the moment where you feel the emotion. Or, oh, fantastic. Okay. So find the moment of emotion where you went, right, and you can rebuild the story around it.
Right. So basically get to that emotions, because we remember emotions well, whether it's positive, negative, or it was whatever. And then go back to that incident when that happened in your business and build your story around it. I think that's brilliant, because I actually do coaching and we go back to the emotions because it's so powerful. So of course we can get a story out of it. Duh, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're thinking a lot. What do you have to say?
I'm just thinking about some of the strong brands, the big brands in the world, and the way they tell the story, and how can we summarize it?
Well, okay.
So there's a good example for this for the audience.
So
I think there'll be something that.
So here's a good thing about stories, that they tend to be about change. So we don't pay attention to stuff that stays the same. We pay attention to stuff that changes. And so what big brands often do is put themselves in your life at that moment of change. So change is coming. We can help you with it. I think about who would you say? Who's done well, do you think, as a brand during Zoom during the pandemic? Well, I was thinking of Zoom as a company. Who else has done well, do you think, during the pandemic?
That's a good one. That's a good question.
Because I think Zoom have done very, very well. Well, yeah.
All the delivery companies, yes.
Online shopping stuff.
Yeah,
Amazon,
absolutely. Anything.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. So, okay, what's the story that they can tell about? So, they're effectively basically telling a story, which is, hey, this amazing, disturbing, terrible thing happened that shook us all up. But we're on your side. We're helping you cope with this, this shock. So Zoom is helping us cope with work. Uber Eats is helping us, get food, and the delivery companies are helping us this. And okay, so those companies have kind of got a really good story about helping us to cope with things that change. The pandemic has been a very interesting kind of.
This is so cute. Sorry, could you put that again? Panadol.
Yeah, somebody say Panadol.
Panadol. Yeah, Panadol is happy. Oh, because in Malaysia there's this ad. It goes like, "Do you think I have time to have a headache?" Panadol Actifast, because the person's, and I'm like, oh my god, that's me. I ain't got time to have a headache.
That is
so
very
it's
good.
really it's really memorable, the ad.
I kind of like this whole idea of summarizing things, because now you make my story become so much easier. So
because
right now we're selling.
He's a bit long-winded, so thank you very much, Steve.
Yeah, because my story is very simple. Then it's just, I feel shitty because my competitor is killing me online, so therefore I started LinkedIn. That's it.
Yeah. And
there you go.
So Amian, there's something that's right. So you've got the broad story there, which is, I feel shit because my competitor is killing me online, so I decided to. Okay, so that's the basic story.
Offline, not online, right?
Yeah, online.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that's the basic story. Now within that, what you need to find to really bring it home to us, to really let us see the story is there a single moment, right? A single moment where you looked at something and went, they're really killing me. Right, you open up an email, or you look at a web page, or there's one moment where you go, oh,
Yeah,
they
there
really
is. There is.
right. Go on, tell us what's the moment.
So the moment was that I look at my competitor's profile and I noticed that he has about 20,000 followers,
Right,
and all of them are my clients.
Okay, ouch.
There you go.
Right, okay.
Ouch.
Okay, so there you go. So there's a moment. So now you tell us the moment. So you say, okay, I sat down at the desk, I had a cup of coffee, and I was feeling like, pumped that today is going to be a good day. And then I sort of thought, I'm going to have a look at my competitor on LinkedIn and just see what he's up to at the moment. I looked on and went, oh, 20,000 followers. Those are my people. Right. So what you're doing right, you've told us a little story. Here's the test, right? Here's a test. I've said look for the emotion. Here's the other test.
The anger. He was
angry. He was angry.
He became the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. And then the anger was a motivating force to drive him forward.
Oh,
yeah,
yes, of course. But both me and our co-founder just like, this is good. Watch it. It's going to be very good for us.
Okay. Yeah. But here's the thing. I'll tell you a little story that somebody told me last week. Okay. So the guy I was talking to. His business idea was he was in Estonia, which is in Northern Europe. It's a very cold country, and they love their saunas and they love their forests. And his business idea was, I'm going to create these kind of sauna in the forest. In a forest.
I was about to tell you that.
Right. So sauna in a forest, because then you can come to this place and you can like completely get all the stress of life away, and it'll just come and find yourself, and becomes this kind of retreat. And that's his idea. And the reason why, and I said, well, why did you want to make this business happen? And he said, well, I went through a very stressful divorce, and therefore I needed to make it happen. And then one of the group who was listening, in one of the other trainees in the room, said, give us a moment. Like, what was the moment you realized your marriage was in trouble? And because divorce is a long thing, it happens over a long period of time. And he said, okay, I came home one day and I put the key in the door and it wouldn't turn. And I thought, oh, got the wrong key. No, put the key back in again, it wouldn't turn. His wife had changed the locks.
Oh no.
And that was the moment he realized his marriage was over. But right, why do you? Don't laugh, Nina. It's a sad story.
No. Anyway, I mean, ouch.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. But here's the thing: if you talk to somebody about a stressful divorce, well, it's like an abstract. It's a concept, a stressful divorce. Okay. Tell us about the moment you came home, you put the key in the lock, and the key didn't turn. What's the difference? Well, the difference is, by telling us about one single moment, we run a little movie in our heads. So you've never met Yuri, right? Neither of you have ever met Yuri before, but you ran a little movie in your head where this guy is standing outside the front door of his house doing this.
It's not working. And ouch.
And you could actually see him. Now, you don't know what he looks like, but in your head, you had a movie running of a guy standing outside of a house trying to turn a key. Not only did you have a movie, you didn't just have a movie, you could imagine yourself in the movie. So you could imagine yourself doing that. So you run a movie and you put yourself in the movie. That's what happens when you tell a story. So that's why stories work better than theories, because I could say to you, okay, stressful divorce, and what's the movie running in your head? Well, there isn't one. There's not, unless you've been through a stressful divorce, you're thinking about yourself. There's not a movie for the word stressful divorce. But the guy trying to turn the key, that's a movie. And you'll remember the movie, not the theory. So that's why, I mean, as I said to you, right, tell me about a single moment when you realized you were in trouble. And you did. That's the story. So if you're going to tell that story, you go, hey, so guys, I'll tell you a story. One day I sat down and I was feeling really. Make the emotions go like that. So one day I sat down, I was feeling really positive. Yeah, my day was going really well, and then boom, I realized, oh no. So now, this is what I do. Yeah. So you give us a moment, you give us the emotion, we're with you. We're completely with you. And we'll remember that much, much better than, guys, here are 3 theories about online marketing that you need to understand. Well,
and here's my value proposition to you.
And here's my value proposition. Yes, absolutely. Now you can
Brilliant.
get that.
Love it.
You can get to that point later, but you've got to give us the story first.
Agreed. 15 minutes left. I want to get into your deck of cards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. So we've got pictures of the deck of cards, I mean. Now, how did you come up with your idea, with this card deck, and how does your card deck work, and what can it help people get clarity on? Is this for a business owner to find their story, or is it for ideas to come up with a story?
It's for anyone who needs to tell a story at work about work. So I was running classes for people where I would be presenting ideas for, okay, here's how you find a story, emotion, get a movie running, all those kind of ideas that I've developed with clients over the years. And then about a year ago, I realized I can't even find my own notes sometimes. So I'm making these presentations and making these worksheets for people to work through. And then sometimes I can't even find my own notes because I haven't stored them very systematically. So I actually drew up on a piece of paper a kind of, okay, what if I created some story cards, right? And I these would be the categories I'd put them into. And I was thinking, yeah, that would be a good idea. I wonder how long it would take me to write them and how to print them. And while I was thinking that, this guy contacted me who makes this thing called Workshop Tactics, which is like a deck of, basically a deck of cards. And each card is a different.
Beautiful, by the way.
They're lovely. They're really lovely. Each card is a different tactic you can use in a workshop when you're trying to come up with ideas. It's like brainstorming tactics. And he said, I've always wanted to do storytelling tactics. And I was like,
he said that?
Yeah, he said. And I was like, well, I'd worked with him before in a different company, and I'd helped him tell stories about it. So he knew me. So I was going, look, I've got a plan. And he goes, right. So basically, we went from like my scratchy bit of paper to 54 cards in a box.
Amazing.
In about 9 months. Took about 9 months to get there. So basically, the idea is the same sort of thing. There's okay. So that's just picking one out at random. That card is called Rags to Riches. And it basically explains how a rags to riches story works, right? And that's the basic story that most entrepreneurs can tell a rags to riches story. But on the back of the card, it's like, okay, there's a story. I mean, you can see that there's a kind of a story arc that the rags to riches story follows. What's really interesting about the rags to riches story, as an example, is a rags to riches story is not about money. Right?
Oh, what is it about?
No. Okay. So, most famous rags to riches story ever is of course Cinderella. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What does Cinderella get at the end of the story? Well, she gets a palace. She gets a prince. But that's not why it's not the point, is it? The point is, right at the beginning of the story, Cinderella is kind of, where are we? She's down. Yeah, she's in a bad place.
Cinders.
She's in the cinders, but she's living in a bad place, but she's a good child. She's a loving person. Okay. By the end of the story, everyone can see she's a good person. So she doesn't get money, she gets recognition. That's what matters in the rags to riches. Think about the same story with Rocky. So Rocky, right, starts off as he's a bum, he's a fighter, but he's a small time boxer, right? And he gets a chance to take on a title fight, and by the end of the fight, the end of the first Rocky film, he doesn't win the fight. He loses on points, but everyone now can see he's a real fighter, so he gets recognition. So, as an entrepreneur, if you want to tell a rags to riches story, you don't have to be a billionaire. to tell a rags to riches story. You don't have to be Elon Musk, right? Because what the rags to riches story is about is I've got this value inside, this thing that's driving me and my business. Now you can all see it. Yeah. So Nina, if you think about what's driving you in your business, well, is it about connecting with people? Is it about sharing stories? Is it about motivating people? It's about having a bit of fun as well while you work. All these things are your values, right? And before you started this business, these values were kind of, you knew them, but nobody else did. Yeah. Now you're running this business successfully. We can all see those values. So it's about recognition. It's not about money, which is good because money is nice, but it's not the thing we want to be judged by.
True.
So anyway, so there's 55 cards in the box, and each one is a different tactic. So there are story arcs like Rags to Riches. There's my favorite kind of story. Shall I tell you my favorite kind of story? This one,
please.
Pride and Fall. So this is the story of stuff where we think we're really clever.
Oh, this is a good one. This is your story. I'm so sorry, but it's yours.
Really,
is it?
The story where we think we're really clever, but we're not, and we like. And I think this, by the way, I think is a really interesting story for people working in technology, because there's a danger with technology that you make it sound too easy. So you make it sound like this app, this platform, this software, this thing I'm making, right, is going to solve all your problems, right? And that sounds too easy. And actually, when you say that, if people say that to me of, hey, I can sort all your problems out with this service or this technology, I'm sitting there thinking, really? Is that right? Is that true? And it makes me skeptical. So people go, hey, yeah, this is brilliant. I'm thinking, oh yeah, any minute now you're gonna come crashing down. So you think about, okay, I haven't got a pair of Google. Do you remember Google glasses?
Yes.
When they came out, so like the idea of like, okay, you got to get these smart glasses and you can see stuff. Right? You can see augmented reality, and they failed. They completely failed. Right? Well, so many new things fail that we become quite skeptical. And so if you're a technology entrepreneur and all you're saying is, we are brilliant, look how fantastic our technology is, there's a problem, because we are skeptical, thinking, oh yeah. So basically we say, in English we say something sounds too good to be true. Right. So if your story is nothing but positive,
it's too good to be true.
It's too good to be true. There's another way of thinking, another tactic in the deck. Another tactic is called no easy way, and it's the idea that if you tell somebody that your product or your service is good and easy, you're lying about one of them. Because if it was good and easy, I'd have done it already. Okay, so I don't know whether you have buy those fitness magazines. No, and it says this is with the Men's Health magazine say you can get a 6-pack in 6 weeks, right? Or Nina, it's like beach body ready by the summer. And you're thinking,
yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. So the technology guys have to be careful, because does your sales pitch sound like a 6-pack in 6 weeks, where Amin and I are going, I'd like a 6-pack in 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yeah, but the truth is, if it's good, it's hard.
Right.
Yeah. And we know that from life, and we know it from stories. So going back to Cinderella, okay, if the fairy godmother had turned up and said, all right, Cinderella, you're married. Just, here's the prince, you're married. Because the fairy godmother is magic. She can do anything. So she could have just said, hi, Cinderella, there's your prince. That's not a story.
No, it's not. It's like, what? That's it?
Yeah, and actually, if that happened, right, in real life, if that happened, you'd be going, wait a minute, where's the catch?
Yeah.
Right.
And,
So,
and then the movie goers would actually go, give me my money back. This is a shitty story, right?
absolutely,
I can
absolutely
tell you
right.
that. Definitely, yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So the tactics basically come out of the story tactics. So basically, we 9 months to write them,
Mhm.
and then we went on Kickstarter in August. Now the clever thing about Kickstarter, the guy who's the publisher, a guy called Charles, he's a very good marketer, and he said, right, we're going to do a 15-week marketing email campaign to build up to the launch. And so we decided we were going to write 15 stories, like a little soap opera, about people who work in the design business, because this is really meant for designers. So we're going to write 15 little episodes of a story about the problems they face and how they do their work and all this kind of thing and the journey they're on. And at the end of each episode, we're going to say, okay, we used this story tactic to write this story. And you can get all 50 in the deck. So we did 15 episodes, and each one had 2 story tactics contained in the episode. So people were getting really into the idea of, hey, there's a story tactic. So there's one called Movie Time, which is, I said before about getting a movie to play in people's heads. So there's a tactic in the box called Movie Time.
Wow.
So by the time the 15 weeks were up, that's basically why we hit our fundraising target in 3 hours. Because people were kind of pumped, they were psyched, and they were really interested already. And yeah, basically it went on to make. So we raised pre-sales $100,000 on Kickstarter in pre-sales. So now we're in production. So we're just waiting for this. So this is the only actual.
Oh wait, so it's not out yet. When is it coming out?
Well, that's the printing prototype. So this is the one they send you to say, are you happy with the way it looks? And so that one is that one's the only one. It'll be out in January. So we're just waiting for the factory to ship.
Print it out.
Yeah, okay. And then it comes out, and
it's available worldwide, right?
Yeah, it's available. I'm pretty sure it's available world. Yeah, it's worldwide. But the PDF, obviously, there's the physical cards, but there's also each card has a PDF version, and the PDFs also you have a Miro. I use Miro whiteboards, so there's a Miro version, and there's a little video where I kind of explain how the card works and give an example, give a case study. So all that digital content is that ships straight away. So as soon as people, you can get the digital version. But there's something nice about having cards. There's something that I was actually doing a workshop in Estonia last week, and we actually ran it we had cards, and I ran, so people were actually, they were able to sort of move past the cards around, and it's just nice to have the physical, And somebody pointed out they're good quality. If you spill coffee on them, they wipe clean.
Wow, that's epic. So if people want to order them, can they still order them, and where and how?
Yeah, so the website is called pipdex.com. Now, if I can start Pipdex, I'll put that in the chat.
You put it in the chat, I can just put it up. I can share it online.
I'll put it in the private chat right now.
Can I get them to follow you on LinkedIn as well, just in case?
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I really do like. You've got my LinkedIn. Thank you very much. No, I love to have conversations with people on LinkedIn. It's just, it is a great platform, provided people kind of use it respectfully and don't spam. I like people spamming each other on LinkedIn.
That's what we always say to people. Stop spamming people. Even if you're tagging unnecessarily, that's a spam, but people don't get it sometimes.
It's basically what we're doing all the time in business is we're negotiating, and we are okay. You think, well, I'm negotiating with somebody about whether to buy my product. Well, no, you're not even there yet. Before you get to that stage, you're negotiating for our time and our attention. Then you're negotiating for our affection, our emotion. Okay, and then yes, you can negotiate for our money. But you've got to get our attention first. And if you're kind of spam is annoying because it interrupts us and it steals our time. And so it's a terrible way to start a negotiation.
Exactly. Okay, so we're at 9:30. I'm gonna wrap things up. I do have going back to your storytelling deck. It's could you let us know who it's great for? Whether it's great for entrepreneurs to tell their story, or for us to come up with, normal posts on social media and LinkedIn.
Yeah, I would say it's, from the point of view of say content marketing. I would say it's very, very useful. I mean, when I was doing the content marketing for the Kickstarter, I sat there with the cards and I just went through every single card. And by the end of it, I'd written 25 different short posts because I was trying a different tactic every time. So there's definitely something there for content marketers. There's something there, I would say, in terms of so entrepreneurs who are thinking, okay, I need a personal story. Like the woman who's creating the attack alarm. I need a personal story that makes me stand out, that builds up trust in me. So definitely for those. There's something in the large companies. So entrepreneurs in small companies, they're constantly telling stories to each other anyway. Lots of when you get to the large companies, that kind of breaks down, and everyone goes into their little silos and don't speak to each other very much anymore. So there are there are moments in those companies where you do need, across the company, you think, okay, we've got a really important message here. It's about our strategy, or we've got a really important message about customer service, and you can tell people the message over and over and over again, and they kind of they get bored, or you can show them a moment, you can tell them a story that involves that message, and the story works better.
Right.
Even better than that, there's a couple of tactics in there which are about how to listen to people's stories, which is even better.
Fantastic. I love it. I mean, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
He's on mute.
Can't hear you. I mean,
I'm thinking of coming up with my own cards.
we definitely gotta check out his cards.
Yeah. I'm getting the cards. I'm gonna get it.
For our students, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You gotta find out more about your training. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
I'm going to ask you a question which you started right at the start. You've been training all these people, and you've been writing stories, and you've been on the search to find what are the secret to a great story. So did you eventually find out what the secret is, and what is it?
Okay, so here's the secret. The strict definition, I think, of what is a story. It's socially useful information. So it's useful information about people, for people, socially useful information. And it's about almost always, it's always about people. Okay. It's almost always about change. Stuff's changing. You need to be aware of this. And it's about new information. So it's about, okay, there's something happened in the world. Excuse me, something's happened in the world. I've realized it because I went through it. I want you to understand it as well. And that's what stories do. So they're about people, they're about change, they're about new information. And all of these three things, we are hardwired to pay attention to them. We pay attention to people all the time. We pay attention to change. We pay attention to new information. And that's what stories contain. So that's why they work. And if you're if you're doing a business communication of any kind, and it's not about people, it's not about change, and it's not about new information, we're not going to pay attention.
Amazing. Yep. I think that is really the gist of everything, right?
Yeah, I think so. There's a great moment. There's a great moment when you tell a really good story, and the change in the change in the story is so people go, oh. Shall I finish with a story?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay. So which just proves my point about the moment of change. Okay, so this is a story which is not about me as a journalist. It's about another journalist. But this guy was covering an academic conference as a journalist, and the conference was about climate change and overpopulation. So the idea that there might be too many people in the world. I don't agree with that, but anyway, this idea that there's a population crisis, and he thought, well, this is a very depressing subject. How am I going to write this story in a way that appeals to more people? Because it's a very depressing topic. And then he realized that there was one of the speakers on the stage was a female academic, and she was herself pregnant. And so he thought, well, that's nice. It's like an irony that we're worried about the world, but she's got enough hope that she's bringing a new life into the world. So he thought that's a nice story. So he wrote that up as the kind of the intro to the story, and it was published. And then the next day he got a phone call from the academic, and she said, "I'm not pregnant."
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh shoot! So she wasn't pregnant. He was just chubs.
She was just, yeah, exactly. And he
No.
said 20 years later, he's still embarrassed about that mistake. Right. So Nina's face, that's the face that you pull when something big changes in a story. You go, yeah.
Got it.
So that's why stories work.
There you go.
There you go.
Brilliant.
Guys, listen, it's been really good fun. Thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed talking to you both.
For sharing with us your knowledge. I think we definitely got so much value from it. I mean, what's your biggest takeaway from today?
Make it simple. There you go.
For me especially, it's that emotion. When was that point that you knew that
that moment, right?
turning that moment,
the key,
that emotion, whether you're angry, whether you knew your divorce was over, whatever it was. Because I use all this in my coaching with people. When was the point that and I'm like, why did I figure it out? It was, I can use the same with the story. So that is brilliant. It's going to be so beneficial for us. Thank you. Kind of thing. Yeah, brilliant.
We got to bring you back one day. There's just so much stuff.
Lovely. Please do. I'll tell you what, I'd love what we could.
One more question. What's next for you? What does the future hold? Are you going to be doing more card decks?
Well, I think I think I've got more stories in me, so I could do another card deck. That's a possibility. What does the future hold? I don't know. I would like to just carry on working because I find work so interesting and exciting, and I really enjoy talking to people. So more of the same. I hope, God willing, more of the same.
I think definitely possible, right? Okay, if you're in this side of the earth, let us know. We'll meet you. One of our students is actually a heritage tour guide, so she could be taking you around.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, kind of thing. So definitely. And Amin, do you want to put up the link to Pip Deck so that people know where?
Yeah, I'm gonna just show it again. Here you go, Pip Decks. Okay, get the card, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
And get connected to Steve on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, ask him whatever you need to ask, and check out his cards as well. I mean, for me, it's so pretty. I have like tarot cards and stuff like that, and now I have storytelling cards. That is like absolutely brilliant. So, what's your biggest learning from tonight? Let us know in the comment section. And Steve, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say last to our audience? To take it away.
Find your stories, tell them, and see what people do when you tell them a story rather than just tell them a fact. Yeah, see what kind of reaction you get. Okay, Jane. Yes, listen, Jane. Connect on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to listen to people's stories and give them very quick feedback.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's got fantastic stories about KL and how KL started because she takes people on these heritage tours. And she said that Steve made it sound so easy. There you go.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. It is easy because we do it all the time. You don't, you don't need to teach. Right, here's the thing: you need to teach kids how to do maths. You don't need to teach kids how to tell a story. They just do
That
it.
is true.
Give them a dinosaur and a dragon, and they'll tell a story.
True.
True.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Okay.
Steve. I'm gonna let you
Thank you
go.
so
One
much,
more
Steve.
minute. We are on time. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. See
All
you
right,
soon.
take
Talk
care.
to
Bye,
you
Steve.
on LinkedIn as well.
Ciao, guys.
Bye. So, what was your biggest learning from today? Let us know in the comment section. For me, definitely, you can use the emotions to find out that point of when things change, so you can find out your arc story. I'm excited to get those deck, so that we can see the different styles of storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Itching to
We
get
should
my
get
hands.
it.
Please. I won't. I mean, if
It's
I have tarot
by,
cards, goddess cards,
yeah.
I need some storytelling cards, right? Jane
Yeah.
is saying, I was on Michael Portillo BBD Great Asian Railway Journeys and learned a lot about storytelling. Wow, that's amazing, Jane. Well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, I just want to say something. We were having some problems with LinkedIn just now, and we still are. So I'm gonna get. I'm just gonna find a way to either tomorrow or a bit later to just re-show this again, the recording on LinkedIn, so that everyone can watch this. Yeah.
Okay. So if you couldn't watch this on LinkedIn, I don't see how you're watching me right now, but we will show it again, nevertheless.
Yes.
You'll be watching.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do a rerun. That's what we're gonna do, right?
Okay. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was a super insightful session. I hope you guys got a lot of values from it. What is happening the rest of the month? Let's just check out. We've got 2 more episodes until the end of the year, guys. All right. Episode 72. We're going to be talking to, who are we talking to?
We are talking to a chef.
Brian. Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking about branding from the heart, which I personally think will beat any algorithm. Okay. So
Yep.
that is celebrity chef, entrepreneur, educator. And then, of course, this is the one that I've been waiting for, which is going to happen on Friday morning, 17 December at 8 a.m. We're going to be speaking to hopefully the dog as well. But Greta Rose, founder of Greta Rose Agency, creative digital and marketing agency, on why your brand story is critical to your success and why so many companies fail at creating one. She was featured on Oprah, so you definitely want to watch that. She knows the stuff because she was the one working on the Secrets movie with Katie Holmes. All right. I want to learn that kind of thing. So thank you so much for your time. We hope you guys learned something. And if you know someone who's going to appreciate from the insights from tonight's episode, please tag them. Give us a like. Give us a love while you're at it. And follow us on all our social media. We'll be coming out with more videos, 2 more episodes, more speakers. We're going to prepare for next year, but we would love to hear from you guys. What is it that you guys want? And what kind of people should we be interviewing? I think it's time for a different sort of change, right?
We're gonna do a review on new strategy for next year. Coming up soon, guys. Okay.
Awesome. So that's all from tonight. I'm Nina signing off.
And I'm Amin signing off. I'll see you again next week. Good night, guys.
And you've been Popcorn. Bye.
Bye.